All right. Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to have an incredible panel of experts talking about a subject that is very rarely discussed in the planetarium industry. I would love to go ahead and invite our host for today's conversation, moderator Ed Lantz, to go ahead, come on screen now. And Ed, take it away from here.
Hey, Ryan, thanks a million. And welcome everyone to Dome Fest West production of our Fulldome Forum entitled Leveraging Fulldome Film Festivals, a Career Catalyst for Content Creators. We have an awesome panel here of both filmmakers and film festival. So we're gonna talk about how to leverage the film festivals, which are international. There's actually quite a lot of film festivals around the world. In fact, let me just share briefly, see here, if I can find it here. This is our running list of film festivals around the world. And as you can see, most of these, I believe, do accept content, Fulldome content. We're looking at Melbourne Planetarium in Australia. You have Japan, Colombia, Germany, France, Czech Republic, Canada, Argentina. I mean, Spain, France. So we really have quite a selection of festivals here that one can make use of when you're producing films in order to get your work out there. So, of course, I'm board chair of Dome Fest West, and we try to create opportunities here in the U.S. for filmmakers to showcase their work, to connect with others in the industry, and to basically network with the community, Fulldome community. So I'd like to bring up Ben Stern. Ben is founder and managing director of GaiaNova, a production company providing A/B solutions for creative agencies, brands, visual musical artists, record labels, and so on. But he's also co-founder of FulldomeUK. That's a not-for-profit organization and film festival in the UK. So, hey, Ben, why don't you come on screen and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit.
Hey, Ed, nice to, thank you for your introduction. So I'm going to do a little presentation, if that's okay, just to help guide my thoughts and remember the things that I meant to say. I'm going to talk a little bit about both the things that I do, both GaiaNova and FulldomeUK, because they're quite intertwined. I can't just talk about one without the other. So yeah, as Ed said, we founded GaiaNova in about 2005, so we've been running for like 21 years now, doing all kinds of things. And we founded FulldomeUK in 2010. So I'm going to start just by talking about GaiaNova. Ed's already said it. We've done a lot of projects with a lot of different people. We do a lot of different stuff. And, we've done a lot of different kinds of immersive projects over the years. We've done big building projection mapping projects. We've worked a lot with stage designers and music tours, music artists as sort of technical people. We've created infinity rooms, touring infinity rooms for brands. We worked on all kinds of immersive galleries all over the world. This was one of the biggest ones, which we did the projection design and a lot of the technical infrastructure for, which was like 130 4K projectors in a Middle Eastern museum. Only a lot of oil buys you that kind of projector budget, I think. This has sort of led me to a conclusion, like playing with these different spaces, that I sort of hate corners. Keep talking about getting a t-shirt made, but I really think that Dome is this incredible medium and it's really exciting because it like immerses people in a way that things with corners can't. Domes are very much at the heart of what we did as GaiaNova. So we came at this from a background of sort of doing things at UK festivals. So our first job as a company was creating this surround video installation at Glastonbury Festival in 2005. And we did it with these pentagonal screens and 5 projectors and almost no money. I think we did it with 5 DVD players, and we burned the content onto 5 different DVD players and pressed play with 1 remote control. That was our synced media server solution at the time. And we had no idea that the planetarium existed or could be a thing. We have since, as a company, gone on to do lots of dome jobs. Like we've helped NSC Creative install domes in the UK. We've worked on immersive theatre projects that include dome experiences, which including this War of the Worlds one, and all kinds of other weird and wonderful things in different parts of the world, in Singapore, in London. We've mapped domes for universities and for bands and famous music artists, you know, in a lot of different places and a lot of different circumstances. And one of our biggest projects was installing a 210-degree dome in the Market Hall in Plymouth. That's a permanent dome. And we sort of designed that off the back of having put on festivals in other people's domes and having done events in other people's domes. So, yeah, this is a sort of selection of our logos through the ages, just to prove that we did actually do something. My favorite thing is that we called our festival a Fulldome Biennale in 2016, and then promptly didn't do another event for 5 years. But anyway, we're back to our 2-year cycle now, doing our next event in October, and then following that, we will probably won't do one again till 2028. So why did we start a Fulldome Festival? Well, partly it was to let some people get us into this space. This is a AI image. I've used it to imply that astronomers were going to stop us getting into the dome, which is actually to do a terrible disservice to astronomers, because when I actually spoke to them, I had some of the best and brilliant experiences of my Fulldome journey, shall we say, having really deep and meaningful and amazing conversations with very serious astrophysicists. So actually, they were all really nice, and they didn't try and stop us getting into dome. But it was really to get into the space and like find a way to link with creators around the world that we started the festival, because we were really passionate about this topic. So we've done a lot of different events. Our focus, I guess, is let's say non-traditional. Like we've always championed non-astronomy uses of dome. So that's included live performances, generative performances. I think I'm not going to say we were first, and I'm sure that there are loads of people who want to claim that, but certainly we sort of, as a festival, we pioneered doing like multiple live performances of an evening as far back as like 2012 in the UK. So we've already had my spiel about what FulldomeUK is, and Ed kindly did that too. I'd say, yeah, as I say, the focus of our event, non-traditional content. So that's not at the exclusion of astronomy and science education, but it's not the focus of the event. Our event is very challenging because getting it funded and all those things, really the only kind of, up until more recently, the only business model really was for things that were astronomy content. So we're like, oh, we're going to show all the stuff that doesn't make any money. But yeah, I've mentioned the live performances thing. So a couple of very obvious, tangible outcomes for people who've taken part in our festival or come to our festival. So one thing that I think is really obvious is people have sort of developed this tradition of handing out these like laurels, like you were nominated or you won an award at this festival. And I assume that this is a good thing for filmmakers. I don't, again, sadly have any tangible evidence for it, except that I see our laurels on people's film posters and promotional material, and that always makes me really happy. In terms of things that have evolved out of FulldomeUK, I do know that Dario came to our event in Dario DiMaggio. No, not, do I mean Dario? Yeah, Dario came to our event in 2011 and felt inspired to make a repository of all the Fulldome stuff that was going on in the world, and founded the Fulldome database off the back of that. So a direct inspiration from FulldomeUK. And if you don't know about Fulldome database, it's well worth checking out. Another thing that happened is some people called Matt and Yanni, who you may know, who are 4Pi Productions, who are based in Cardiff, came to our event and said, oh, this is so cool, we should found a permanent venue for Fulldome art in the UK. And they built Cult VR in Wales. And in a nice cyclical arrangement, we're now doing our event in the venue that they built, inspired by the event that they came to. So that's a nice one. We definitely know of people going on and doing funded residencies off the back of doing performances at FulldomeUK at the Society of Arts and Technology in Montreal with all their lovely French-Canadian funding. And we definitely know that work inquiries have come off the back of people seeing things or connections that people have made at events, and, you know, along with other licensing opportunities. The other thing we sort of say it as a joke, but the Fulldome Festival we sort of think of as a community service, because I feel really passionate about Dome and I'm really excited about it. But if I start talking to my friends in the pub about why I think it's great, they sort of glaze over and like, I'm not going on about the Dome again. But at the Fulldome Festival, you can meet loads of people who can talk excitedly about it, and they're really excited about it too. And they really want to hear about what you've been doing and want to tell you about what they've been doing. And that's a really lovely sort of family and friendly and supportive environment. And as I'm sort of helping curate talks and bring in first-time filmmakers to discuss their work at this year's event, that's something I keep saying to people, like, this is an event put on by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. It's a friendly crowd. Even if you feel like you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to find people who are really supportive. So, like, I'm trying to, you know, encourage people to feel that way. And that's all I've got to say. So I'm going to hand the baton back to Ed, and look forward to chatting to you all shortly.
Oh, thanks, Ben. And, you know, what you were saying about this being a passion of yours, I think a lot of the Fulldome festivals, I mean, I can speak for Dome Fest West, we don't make money doing what we're doing. It's really a service to the community.
Oh, no, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's, you know, when you get people together, like, magic happens. And you know, it's hard to measure the impact that we've had. You know, it just ripples out. So it's very rewarding service, I have to say. Thanks, Ben. So moving along here, next up we have Scott Berman. Scott's a filmmaker, writer, and creative director whose work explores the emotional power of music through immersive visual storytelling. I know he's done a lot of concerts and such, you know, doing the visuals. He is a writer, producer, and director of Resolution, a cinephonic rhapsody for the soul. And he collaborated with Polyphonic Spree on that to visualize their album, Salvage Enterprise. And if you haven't seen Resolution, check it out. It's very, very cool. And he really came at this from a different angle than many of us. He premiered his show at South by Southwest, which he'll talk about. So anyway, Scott, why don't you come on and introduce yourself and tell us your perspective on taking your work to film festivals.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it. And thanks, Ben, and everybody for being on. You know, as Ed was saying, I own a company called Cinephonic Studio. Hey, Michael, how you doing? You know, I come from a little different background. I've been doing immersive experiences since 1990, before like immersive was a catchphrase. And when I say that, I mean, I started with a band called Tripping Daisy back in the 90s. We started locally, and we started with a visual show, and it was all analog, like oil and water, overhead projectors, slide projectors, film projectors, hand-drawn slides, things like that. And we grew that show, you know, locally, and then we got signed by Island Records, and then we went on tour around the United States and around Europe. And I really honed my craft, because back then it was before the, you know, back in the old days, it was before the internet. So basically you really didn't know what you were about to walk into. So we traveled all across the United States, probably did 400, 500 shows. And so basically we would go into a venue. It might be a club one night that only holds 50 people. And the next night we could be in a 4,000 seat venue theater. And then we we played in some arenas. So everything from small to large, we would come into the space and bring all of our equipment in and look at the space as like a unique space and saying, all right, how am I going to make this experience travel behind the stage and out into the room? And so we started doing this 360 stuff that was all across the club or the arena, whatever it is. So I did that for about 5 years. Then I started doing raves, and raves were kind of a new thing for me, where the visuals were even more of integrated in that, and doing 360 outdoor stuff out in the in a pasture out in the middle of Texas, taking over these abandoned buildings, all sorts of stuff like that. So really, Dome was always kind of in my head from the very beginning, except I never did anything about it. And Tim and I had talked about doing this, the singer of Tripping Daisy, who then founded Polyphonic Spree. And so basically how I got into to Dome was I was sort of at the end of this one project, and Tim had just started writing his new album. And we had sort of talked about unique ways that we could launch the album. And sure enough, Facebook was listening to me. And I got an ad for Mesmerica. So I went and saw Mesmerica. I bought 2 tickets. I said, Tim, we got to go to this. I think this is how we should launch your album. We went and saw Mesmerica. Our head was spinning when we walked out of there. We went directly and talked to the planetarium director and said, we want to do this. Can we do it here? They knew the band, and it was a local planetarium. And I would say this to me is a sort of a lesson that I learned very early on, is if you want something to happen, just ask. I think that's really hard for people to do, but when you're just honest about your passion for something, and you really want to you really want to accomplish it, you'd be amazed at how many people will help you. So we started there with the local venue, and we just said, hey, we don't know how to do this. I've been doing visual shows all my life, for 35 years. And we want to do a show like this. We love this. This was amazing. We really want to do this. And so he said, yeah, well, come on. Let's go back in the planetarium and let me show you how this place works and the kind of files that you need. And so we made a relationship with a local planetarium here. Shout out to the Sky Theater in Denton. And so my first thing was to like figure out how this business model might work. And we had a great example with Mesmerica. Thank God for them. We got to take their success and sort of pitch it to an investor and say, hey, this is how this works. We could do this. This is the pinnacle. And would you be interested in funding this? And luckily we got funding for it. And then we were on our way, and we started, I started out asking my favorite animation artists all over the world if they were interested in doing it, got a team together. And then I met a person named Ryan Hartzell, who was deep in the VR world, and he's my partner at Cinephonic Studio now. And so we came at it from a VR approach. He had done 360 before, but really what was the key to our success of making this film was we were able to go into the local planetarium. We would go back and make mistake after mistake after mistake, go to the planetarium on Fridays, sit for an hour, watch everything that we did, and then go back to the drawing board. And then I started asking more people and finding out how to do it, and we came up with our film. It took 3 years to make it from that point. But, and so we just on a whim sent it to South by Southwest, and they were interested in it. And then I called up a dome provider and said, hey, can you build a dome at the Fairmont in Austin? They said yes. South by Southwest accepted it, and it was crazy. We opened the moment that it opened up, there was a flood of people that came over to the dome because it was massive within that space, and everybody was fascinated with it and they loved it. And I just met people after people after people. Then we won the audience award at South by Southwest, which really launched our career. But I really had no idea what the dome world was at that point. And, you know, this is kind of a funny story about Ryan Moore. You know, a guy that had been working with me was like, man, there's this festival, it's called Dome Fest West. You really need to get in that festival. And I was like, okay, I'm busy doing other stuff. Missed the deadline, and then found out about this other festival that was called Dome Fest that actually wasn't a dome festival. And I emailed Ryan thinking that because it was a music festival with no domes in it. I have no idea why it's called Dome Fest, why they stole the name from you, Ryan. But anyway. What happened was I thought I was emailing them, and I actually emailed Ryan Moore. So Ryan Moore said, yeah, I'd be happy to get on a Zoom call with you. And we started talking, and he said, yeah, man, you missed the deadline. I can't do anything about it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Dome Fest West anyway. That's when really this started, everything that I've done in this space started to take a turn for the better. What's really interesting about this community is that how together they are and how open they are, how willing they are to help each other. And I've carried that torch as well. Like anybody that has any questions about the way we did our film, any questions about anything like that, I'm an open book. And I think that what you'll find in this industry is that everybody is an open book, that we're really together in this mission to create really interesting, cool dome films that attract different audiences, some that attract kids at a science museum, and others that attract somebody that's interested in music and art and cultural stuff. And I think what you'll find is that if you have done a film, you already know this. If you haven't done a film, you don't know this until you do it, that once you do a dome film and once you experience your artwork in a dome, you'll never want to do anything else. And that's where we're at. I'm going to share my screen and show you guys a couple things about the results of, you know, the compounding effect of going to one festival and having it launch you to the next and the next, and what happens after that. Let me share this here. Oh, I don't have that. Okay. So our film's called Resolution. It's a 45-minute album experience by a band called the Polyphonic Spree. It's a mixture of animation and live action. Every piece is done by different artists around the world. So there's 9 songs, and they're all done with completely unique animation styles, and they all fit together. It's not like 9 separate music videos. They fit together as one cohesive piece that's sort of centered by a campfire where everybody meets. And the film is about you know, the lives of each of the people that are around the campfire. Let's see. So I'm going to hide this here. Sorry if that's in the way. Well, I can't. So as we mentioned, we won South by Southwest. After South by Southwest, we were actually up for consideration for an Emmy and a Grammy, Emmy for Outstanding Emerging Media Program, and Grammy for Best Music Film. Of course, we were up against Led Zeppelin and Bono, Coldplay, so we really didn't stand a chance, but at least we were up for consideration, and that was a huge honor. We came back the next year to Dome Fest, which was this year, and won Best Artistic Film. We were also in the before that, I skipped a part, but went to Portland Festival of Cinema and Animation. Really cool festival. And I think the thing that I've found from each of these festivals that I've been to is there's a core group of people that you see every time, and you become friends with them, and you start sharing stories, and you start understanding what they offer and what you offer them. And these relationships blossom from that, and they actually do turn into something. They turn into collaboration. They turn into introductions to, you never know what person's that you're gonna meet that's gonna introduce you to this to somebody else. We've met people from PBS in Florida who now we're working with on a Dome film. That's a little inside scoop there for you guys. Our next Dome film that we're working on. At any rate, we after these festivals, then you get into a dome, and then that turns into getting you into another dome. You meet distributors, you meet people that are going to help guide you, and we've had a lot of luck since then. We're in the Omni Theater in Fort Worth, 300 shows there. We did 40 shows at the SAT in Montreal, an amazing venue. Really experimental venue. If you guys ever get the chance to go see that, you should. Dorrance, fantastic venue there that is LED, 8K LED dome, the built by Cosm, just like the Omni. Strasbourg, Sky, Immersed, Catalina, Omniversum in the Netherlands, Prague Dome. We were in the Adelaide Film Festival, Fringe Festival. We're going to be in Vancouver for 100 shows. And this one's, I can definitely say that this is probably, no one's ever done this one before, but we actually erected a dome on Rick Rubin's lawn in his studio in Malibu. That's a picture of it right here. And it was for Neil Young's 80th birthday party, which was a crazy experience. And I can say for a fact, had I not gone to Dome Fest West in 2025, not even with my film in, accepted, but just as an audience member, I would have never been able to pull this off on Rick Rubin's lawn. Ed helped me. Stephen Powers helped me. All people that I met at Dome Fest West. So that's just a testament to show you guys, hey, introduce yourself to people. Don't be afraid to ask. Everybody's willing to help you. And then I'll just play a little quick preview of the film, and then that'll be it for me. Let's see. Okay, there you go. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, that's awesome, Scott. And you said something that really does strike me as being true with regards to the community. I'm here in Los Angeles. I've been involved in the film and television, mainstream entertainment. It's a very different vibe, and in the Fulldome community, there really is a camaraderie that we're all pioneering a new space together. And, we're all kind of helping each other out along the way. And, the competitiveness is there, but it's just like, it's mellow compared to Hollywood, believe me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm swimming with dolphins rather than sharks, So I love the community that we've been building here. The domes are going to start popping up all over the world in various, I'm sure it'll become much more commercial and much more businessy, but I think as much as we can hold on to this community vibe, and pull others into it, it's going to really result in a much better outcome.
Yeah, well, I'll just say one last thing about that, Ed. We can't make every film that's going to show in a planetarium, nor can you, nor can anybody. We have to make them together. So collectively, the better the films are that everybody makes. I'll speak about this for Kael's film that you guys are going to talk to Kael. I was blown away with his film. And the more of these that are made, the more likely it is that it's going to break through to the mainstream, and more domes are going to pop up because there's enough content to support that.
Yeah, that's great. And I also feel like we're laying down the codes for what kind of programming works best in the domes, because there's been a lot of experimentation over the years, and we all learn from each other, So
Yes.
I think, optimizing the power of immersion, there's different filmmaking techniques, different cinematic language, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, this is awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so moving along here, next up we have Klára Jůzová. Klára's co-founder and head of content at Krutart. It's a creative studio specializing in high-quality animation for children. Her film, Little Eve, Stories of Planet Earth, won Best Children's Film at Domefest West 26. So, Klára, why don't you come on screen and tell us a little about yourself and how you see the film festival, greater film festival community.
Sure. Yes. Hello. Thank you, Ed, and hello, everyone. It's great to be here with you. The sun has just started to attack me, so I hope, I could really use the eclipse today, but, well, anyway, as Ed said, my name is Klára Jůzová, and I'm the representative of Studio Krutart from Prague, Czech Republic. And yeah, I'm probably going to start sharing my screen. Hope it works. Yeah, so this is our logo. Our company, I come from a little bit different background. My background and the background of my co-founders of the company is traditional film industry. We all studied film school, met at film school, all three of us, and right after film school, we founded our company. And we started making films, and also we were making a lot of commercial work and immersive content for museums. And over the years, we have developed into an animation studio, and one of the biggest animation studios in Czech Republic, actually. And our first big project for TV was edutainment TV series Cosmics. We have 2 seasons. One of them is about exploring space, and the second is about exploring everything around water on Earth. And it's for kids from 4 to 8. And yeah, it was very popular in Czech Republic, and it was sold worldwide. Right now, we are working on another TV series called Alma and Kore. This is a Czech title, what you see, but it's called Alma and Kore. And it's actually one of the, not one of the, but it's actually the biggest TV series, animated TV series in Czech Republic ever done. So that's very nice. And in the meantime, we are also working on Cosmic's Secret Mission, which is a spin-off. It's a feature film about the main character of the TV series, Kit, and he's like traveling to universe, and it's going to be a huge adventure in cinemas in 2 years. And also, as I said, we do a lot of videos and games for museums and installations and stuff like that. But if you've ever heard of us, it's probably not because of our work for television and TV, but it's for our Fulldome films. I think it was around 2019 when we discovered there is this beautiful, amazing thing called domes, and they have films there. And we realized we like it very much, and that beautiful, colorful animated worlds we are creating for kids in TV and film that could actually go there too as well. So we decided to give it a try, and 3 years later, we have done this 3-to-1 lift-off film. I think it's safe to say now that the film is very popular and successful. It was sold to almost 200 planetariums worldwide. And Alan the hamster, the main character, he has many fans around the world. So the idea of doing Fulldome proved to be a good idea, basically. So we continued, and last year we finished Little Eve, Stories of Planet Earth, which is our second film. It's the film that I directed, and also what brought me here to this beautiful panel. And it's a little less traditional film because it's more about life on Earth than what happens above. So, but yeah, it's also quite popular. And right now we are working on a sequel to 3-to-1 Liftoff, which is called 3-to-1 to the Moon. And you can probably guess where Alan is going next. This film is going to be done next year, and we are all very looking forward to it. So yeah, this is us. We are creating those colorful worlds where kids feel at home. And we've decided, because our background is filmmaking and traditional storytelling, and somehow when we started to explore the Fulldome market back in 2019, we somehow felt that, especially in the children shows, this expertise of really strong storytelling is sometimes missing. So that's where we felt we could fit in, and bring something else and new. But in all our films and shows, everything we do has this like educational aspect. Even though it's a TV show or the feature film, we always try to spark curiosity, in kids, and the passion of exploring the world and asking questions. So yeah, this is it. And this topic of this panel, the importance of film festivals, I think, like, for me, there are two aspects of the importance. As I said, the traditional film industry, I've traveled quite a lot of traditional film and TV festivals and conferences in my life, basically. And I think there, the difference from my experience is that it's really focused much more on the people. For example, if you are a film director and you get accepted to a big festival and you win a prize, it's amazing for you. It's a big career twist, and it moves you further to making another film, bigger film, more expensive film, So it's really good for your career. But in the Fulldome world, I think it's much more about the films itself. Because, people from planetariums, they don't decide on which film to buy. I don't think anyone would buy a film because it was done by me. they would like buy for the show because it's good for the planetarium. It somehow fills gap that they need to fill, of course the film has to be good. But so I think in the Fulldome case, the traditional approach of like building careers on wins at festivals, maybe it will come, maybe because also the Fulldome market is emerging. Like I'm much more familiar with Europe, but I think it's everywhere. It's emerging, obviously. So maybe it will change. But for now, I think it's really much more about the films. And for us, being an unknown company from Central Europe, entering the market, we had to persuade a lot of people, not only that the films are good, but also that they can trust our films. Because, like we are not coming from the planetarium backgrounds, we are not astronomers, and so that's kind of there was kind of the barrier at the beginning. But going to festivals, showing our films and getting some wins, because 3 to 1 Liftoff won quite a few prizes, and Little Leaf also won quite a few prizes already. So it really helps us promoting the film. That it's really like something to look at, because at good festivals you have very good juries, and if the juries that are collected from people that are very experienced and can be trusted, so if they give a film a prize, it means the film there's something about the film. So that's one aspect of the importance for us producers of going there. And the second aspect is, like, I think it's obvious, and it's already been said by guys before me, that it's the face-to-face aspect, because it's a global business, and we are selling our films to everywhere, basically, to all domes on all continents, and being in touch through emails can be sometimes very cold and very frustrating. But if you meet someone face-to-face and you are able to talk to them, it's always 100% better, because you can actually learn something about them. You can learn what they are struggling with in their domes and their institutions. You can learn what is missing and stuff like that. And also every territory, every country, every planetarium is different. And by being there, talking to people, and I can also confirm that the community is very nice. It's really amazing community, full of amazing, curious people that are lovely to talk to. So being there actually helps us make the films better, because we obviously learn with every film. But if we didn't go, we wouldn't know. So that's probably my contribution to this panel. And yeah, I'm happy to be there for the discussion.
Awesome. Thanks, Klára. Yeah, loved your film, by the way. Very
Thank
cool. And it's great to see experienced storytellers coming into the space. Planetariums have actually always been driven, or have often been driven by experienced storytellers. In the beginning with an arrow pointer and a star field, but weaving tales. And then I think it was in the 1940s at Griffith Planetarium, they did a simulated trip to the moon, and they had they created a zoom projector that let the moon get bigger and bigger and bigger, like you're traveling, so they simulated a lift off and everything. And of course that was way before we ever went to the moon. So these domes have been inspiring people. And of course, now with the Fulldome video, that we're able to basically teleport people into any world or any story world or whatever we can imagine. So it's great to see imaginative storytellers such as yourself coming into the space.
Yeah, thank you. It's totally amazing what it can do. Yeah, very inspiring.
Well, we'll follow up with Q&A afterwards. And by the way, anyone who has questions, pop it into the Q&A box down below on your Zoom menu. So, okay, well, thanks, Klára. Next up, and last but not least, we have Kael Alden. He's a musician, composer, multidisciplinary digital artist who combines analog synth music with immersive visual storytelling. And Kael really took the Dome Fest West, by storm with his Space and Time piece. It's a psychedelic synth soul album paired with fully immersive Fulldome experience, and it was inspired by the classic laser shows of his childhood. So I believe that was maybe, Kael, that was your first screening at a film fest. Anyway, why don't you come on screen here and intro yourself, talk a little bit about your experience with Dome Film Fest.
All right. Thanks, Ed. Happy to be here. I just got to say, I'm new here. I'm so excited by all the possibilities in the Fulldome world. And to be completely honest, I don't know how I got here. This whole thing has been a whirlwind. I kind of fell into this by accident, I feel like. So my background is, as you can probably tell, I'm a musician first. I was a composer for TV and film in LA for nearly 20 years. I have played in several bands. Some of my bands have been moderately successful on and off. Never did I consider myself a filmmaker. But I always dabbled in photography, and I was always excited by new challenges. I've been interested in making music videos for my bands, and I would often, I had to learn how to use a camera, and I had to learn how to use video editing software and this and that. So for several decades, I've just been kind of dabbling, I guess you could say. But it's always been about the music. And in 2020, I was working for a music company in LA that was doing mostly music for TV commercials. And 2020 was pretty rough, as you may recall. And that was when our company decided to call it quits. And all of a sudden, I found myself kind of aimlessly wandering, not really knowing what I was doing with my life. I knew I wanted to do music in any capacity that I could. It was kind of the only skill I had at the time. And but it wasn't, there wasn't really a viable way to make money with music and make a living. All of a sudden, that rug had just been kind of pulled out from under me. So I had to kind of pivot a little bit, and started to learn to code. I started to learn design, and I really kind of leaned heavily into video production and VFX, and just because it interested me and it sounded fun. And so from there, I started my Kael Alden solo project, my music project, because all of a sudden I had all this time on my hands because I was unemployed. And as I began making music, I realized, as I began making music for myself, this was the first time in my life that I wasn't working for somebody else or in a band with other members. It was entirely up to me. And as I was doing it all, I started to realize that my musical process is very visually driven. It always has been. Anytime I'm writing a song, I'm always imagining, what does the video look like? And how does this interact visually? And how does this play with the audience's senses? And how does it? And what is the color palette? Like these are the terms that I think in when I'm constructing music. A lot of times I'll even set out. I'll start filming a music video before I've even started writing the song. I actually, the opening track for Space and Time, a prominent element that is featured throughout the video is this moon. I shot this moon during a cloudy lunar eclipse, and there's all these clouds blowing. It's very stark contrast, black and white, which actually I shot it in full color, but it ended up just looking really, really moody with this like monochrome look. And that right there sparked the entire idea to do this in a planetarium, to make this a dome film, which I didn't know existed. I didn't know the term dome film. I didn't know that was even a thing. And this was, 3 or 4 years ago, probably, when I had this idea. I had remembered back to when I was a kid seeing the Pink Floyd laser shows in the planetarium, and what a profoundly impactful experience that was. And all of a sudden it clicked for me that like I could do that. I could take this moon, I could literally take this thing I'm filming right now with my telescope in my backyard. I could take that and really run with it. And suddenly ideas were flowing, and all the songs started falling into place. And pretty soon, before I knew it, I had a dome film. I don't even know how that happened, but I'm going to go ahead and try to play the teaser for it. For those of you who aren't at Dome Fest West, didn't get a chance to see it. Let me see if I can get this to work. Share. Oh no. It's not letting me do the optimized video. I'm going to try it anyways. It's probably going to jitter. The frame rate's going to be a little glitchy. I apologize, but use your imagination. You'll get the idea. Okay. Did that work? Good. Okay. I see Scott says it's working. Good. So yeah, I began creating Space and Time as a music album, and like I said, halfway in decided like, let's do this. Let's go for it. Let's make it a dome film. And again, this was the moment when I was like, at the beginning, I guess I didn't know what I didn't know. Maybe it's a good thing. I didn't know how much work it was going to be to do all the music, to do all the animation. It's 45 minutes, 46 minutes, 10 songs, and each song is a completely distinct style. Some I animated, some I shot, like I said, with my camera, some I 3D modeled, a little bit of everything. And it was a lot of fun to make. I had no idea where I was going with it. I didn't know there was such a thing as a Dome Fest West. I didn't know what my target audience would be. I had no consideration whatsoever for the end product other than I was having fun. I guess that's what it all comes down to. But here we are. So now, having been to Dome Fest West and meeting so many amazing, incredibly talented dome filmmakers, I suddenly realized like, oh, there's a home for me. There's like a place for this. There's a whole community for this. And what a relief, actually. What a surprise to be among you all and know that there's a name for this. First of all, that's the exciting thing. And to know that there's so much interest in this as a medium and as a format. And like I said, I want to go back and talk about the fact that since Dome Fest West, since winning there, I won Best Musical Feature Film, which That was mind-blowing. Honestly, I went to Dome Fest West with zero expectations. I knew nothing. I was just kind of coming in thinking like I made a thing. And I had no idea the kind of reaction that it was going to get. I was completely blown away, and the enthusiasm for my film and the reaction from everybody who saw it, who's there, has been really electrifying for me, and it's kind of lit a fire under me to just keep going with it. I'm now at a place where I'm talking with distributors, and thanks to Cora Braun, who's in the chat, shout out Cora. It was able to run at the GDP conference in Germany, and pretty soon I think it's going to be running in just about every planetarium in Germany. And and that's maybe just the start. We'll see. We're hoping that we can figure out how to get more people to see this. I think that's right now. That's kind of the main goal. Is like, now what? What do you do with a film that 4 or 5 months ago I had zero expectations for and I had no plan? Now things are happening, and it's exciting. We're talking about European or worldwide distribution. We're talking about Scott Berman and I are actually teaming up. I think I can tell them that you and I are kind of teaming up to do some double features and maybe work together to figure out where we can get it to screen. And Scott's been at it for a while, and so he and I have become friends, and he's kind of taken me under his wing a little bit, and he's kind of showing me the ropes and sharing with me what he's learned in the past. And so I appreciate his help. That was probably one of the biggest connections for me from Dome Fest West, was meeting Scott and realizing that, like, hey, there's us fellow creators are kind of all in the same boat here. We're all trying to make this go. We're all trying to make this a thing, and really get our content out to the world and let people know that, like, hey, come to your local dome. There's some really cool stuff happening, like, and people just got to hear about it. Like I said, we're pitching more screenings. We're pitching more festivals today. Literally, this is the first time today, Ed, seeing you talk about these other festivals. I want to get that list from you, because this is the first time I'm realizing, hey, there's probably other festivals out there that I should be talking to. So this is good. We need to be sharing this information. We need to all be kind of helping each other out, as this community is so good at doing, just lifting each other up and just getting more exposure. Besides that, again, all this energy that I've got since Dome Fest West, I've started making plugins for video creators. I also want to share one thing really quick. This is kind of exciting me right now. I just kind of feel like I have a fire lit under me to like really go into the dome film world. And I'm currently working on another film for the Vancouver Dome. And I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about this much yet. This is kind of new and exciting and up and coming, but I'll show you just a little teaser. I'm working on this film. This is a screenshot from the film. But more importantly, this is a plugin that I just made for DaVinci Resolve to do 3-dimensional warping and dome positioning right in the edit page of DaVinci Resolve. You don't have to round trip through a complex camera rig in Fusion, or you don't have to round trip to some 3D program like Blender. You don't have to go into Cinema 4D to do any kind of, just basic composition work. You can do it all right here in DaVinci Resolve from the edit page or the color page. I'm going to be releasing this plugin as an open source free plugin, my gift to the Dome film community. probably in the next few days, as soon as I get a moment to just post it. But it's done. It's working. It's really lightweight. It's GPU accelerated. For those who are interested in the specs, this is going to be a game changer. This plugin just really accelerates being able to do dome composition work quickly. So how do I stop that? There it is. So yeah, making plugins, working on new film projects, making connections, talking about newer, bigger, more exciting projects. There's just so much happening now. It's all coming so fast, and it's so exciting. Beyond that, I'm also happy to announce that I am working on my next solo album and film. It probably will be another 3-4 years till that's done, just because that's my pace. When I do everything, it's pretty time intensive. So don't hold your breath for it, but it's coming. There's new things in the works. So lots of exciting stuff. That's all I got. Thank you.
Congratulations, Kael. That's really cool. And a couple of questions. That plugin, did you vibe code that? Vibe code it?
Yes, mostly I did. Luckily, like I said, I had been learning development and making some mostly music plugins since 2020. So I had all the pipeline in place, and I've been like working on my C++ chops. So this was like literally that. I think I made that in an afternoon. That was I saw the need, and I was like, it'd be really cool is if I could do 3D spherical dome positioning without having to round trip to some other software. So
that's awesome. Another question, like what prompted you to, because a visual album is typically, HD or whatever, 4K, planar. What was the thing that got you wanting to work in 360 or Fulldome?
Yeah, it's really funny. I think back around 2015 or 2016, there was the big VR craze, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, everybody was thinking VR is like here, and we're going to do this. And I was working for the music company at the time in LA, and my boss was like, VR is big. All of our clients are going to be asking us for immersive audio. We're going to need to be doing spatial audio, and we're going to need to offer this as a service. But there was nothing that we could just like score. I couldn't just score a VR film at the time. So my boss says, Kael, go make a VR film. As a musician who had never made even a film, let alone a VR film, all of a sudden I was in over my head, trying to learn everything I could as fast as I could about, like, at the time it was Metal, Skybox, and After Effects, and all of a sudden I had a couple weeks to pick up some basic skills in the VR world, and I made just a really, really rough kind of demo where it was some planets floating around in space, but the whole point of it was to then make a spatialized audio mix where you hear things going around, and as you turn your head, you're getting that 360 sound. And we offered that to our clients at the time, and we got some VR work, but at the time that really opened the door for me to have some foundation of skills for how to do this. And then when it came to my own album, I really wanted to do it in a planetarium. That was the end goal. I just imagined doing an album release with visuals in a planetarium, and how cool would that be?
That's great. That's great. I just yesterday attended the Phoebe Bridger album release listening party in Costa Mesa in a planetarium, and she had two versions. She had a laser show, and then she had a video show with lots of beautiful time-lapse imagery. But I think it's catching on.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it's fun to see newcomers come in, and we welcome you into the community. And thanks for jumping in on this panel.
Thank you so much.
Why don't you stay on screen? In fact, love to bring up all of our panelists, and let's chat for a bit. There's let's see. we do have a question for Kael. How long did it take to make the 45-minute film doing all the music and visuals? That's a lot of work.
That is a lot of work. Thank you for recognizing. It took about 4 years. And I'm going to be honest, the album itself took 3.5 years. The Dome film kind of all came together because I had been filming moons and clouds and collecting 3D renderings throughout several years. I had just been kind of dabbling for maybe a decade, like learning Blender and learning how to, how to model things and animate. So I had a backlog of stuff that I could just kind of mold together. But the album was the bulk of the work, like recording, writing the songs, performing all the instruments and the lyrics and everything was a lot of work just in itself. And luckily it all was able to just come together at the end the way it did. So
that's great. Well, the TLC comes through in the experience that you've created.
Thank you.
So guys, I'd like to start it out with a question. Some of the folks on here are new aspiring filmmakers. Maybe they have works in progress. What is your advice to them for preparing for a film festival, for strategy for getting to the film festivals? I'm just curious if anybody has some advice for our attendees.
I mean, I can give a little bit of advice as a person who organizes a film festival, and this isn't necessarily commercial advice or the best way to sell your film, but certainly one of the things we are challenged with is how much stuff we want to get into 2 days. And we get like 200 applications and we've got to get it into we've got to whittle it down to 2 days stuff. And I would say, I feel like, I'm not suggesting anyone on this call is part of this, but I feel like people are sometimes guilty of not editing enough and not being harsh enough, Like sometimes we see work that's like, I'm going to use a harsh word because I can't think of a better one. It's a bit self-indulgent. It's quite like, it's really long and people are like, I'm going to experiment with this. Now I'm going to experiment with that. And it's like, not people don't necessarily want to see like endless experimentation. So like for us, if you've made something that's 45 minutes long, we're going to have to judge it a lot more harshly than something that's 5 minutes long, And so, like, if you got limited resources, make something great and short. Do not try and stretch those limited resources out over some epic long thing. I mean, it's not saying that long stuff isn't great too, because I know that several people on this call have made great long films. But that's shortness is easier to curate in than longer stuff for us from a film festival point of view.
To speak to that, my film is 46 minutes long, 10 songs, and the version I submitted to Dome Fest West was 26 minutes, and I think 4 or 5 songs. Just because, you really do gotta stick to the highlights, I think, in that format, and get interest, get exposure, and then when people are into it, then you can show them the full thing, right? Like.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, having sat on multiple juries over the years, the longer the film, the more it needs to be scrutinized and the less chance you have of getting screened, because we're trying to, we have limited screening block time and we're trying to pack in as much as we can into that. So it's good advice.
Yeah, I'll speak to that too. Having not known any of this before, we started making our film was sort of set at this length, and we didn't really strategize about any other, version of it that could have been condensed, or we're going to cut these 3 songs out, because it kind of all connects together. So we would have had to gone back and done all this editing. But Kael's does do that. Kael's has these points in time where the visuals stop, and so the editing for his might be easier than it is for me. But having been to these festivals now and sort of understanding this, we sort of got lucky that the album wasn't an hour, because I would have done an hour-long film if the album was an hour. So it did fit in the formatting for planetariums for longer shows, but now sort of understanding this world of for planetariums of that there's like a sort of a 20-minute range and a 45-minute range, and that there's these two distinct ranges of films that get shown in planetariums. We lucked out that we weren't longer than that. And we had considered doing some things before and after the film, because we felt like kind of when you're looking at traditional media and traditional films, you're like, this is short. Are people going to drive this far to see a show that is only 45 minutes long? And actually it is long. And in sort of those experiences, and when you're in a planetarium, especially those, like an hour and a half film, I don't know if there's ever been one that's been done that's been 2 hours or an hour and a half.
The opera. Everest opera, yeah. 90 minutes. And it was engaging. I was surprised, it was just actually very engaging.
So not saying that can't be done, but yeah, I mean, planetariums fit in these sort of blocks. So, and I agree with Ben, like, gosh, we could have taken that road. We got lucky that what we did was good and that people responded to it. But yeah, I mean, that makes sense, Ben, to sort of start off with these smaller projects. And a lot of them are really engaging. And I found just going to festivals, when I see a block of shorts, and I'm sitting there for 2 hours, watching shorts, watching a 5-minute film, a 10-minute film, a 3-minute film, a 12-minute film. It's really entertaining for me just to get this sort of, and ours sort of has that feeling because it's these distinct pieces, so it flows better than just one subject matter throughout the whole thing. So good advice, Ben. Wish I would have talked to you, a couple years ago.
There were a couple questions Ben has answered through typing, but I wanted to dig a little deeper. Because like Dome Fest West, we have a short film category. And if I'm remembering right, it's less than 20 minutes is a short film in this format. If you're at a motion picture film festival, it's very different. A 45-minute piece or a 40-minute piece might be considered a short film. But for planetarium shows, if you're over 20 minutes long, it's typically long enough to create a ticketed experience. So we put that in a different category. But I'm wondering, Ben, where do you guys draw that line?
I have to refer to my notes, which I sadly don't have in front of me. But I would say we sort of talk about shorts being under 10 minutes, and it's really about how we would program it. That's a sort of curatorial decision rather than which is like what Scott's just said. We have screening blocks. So, right, like we don't ask people to sit in the dome for more than an hour because it's quite an exhausting medium. I think there's some evidence that maybe it's people get bored or fall asleep or want to get up and whatever. So we might show 2 feature films, which might be sort of kind of like 25 minutes together. That might be a screening block. Or we might show a bunch of shorts, which might be like 5-10-minute pieces. We always feel like when there are some things that fit in between, and I think we'd make that decision more based on like a cohesive program, like these ones fit really well together. This is like a theme, because some people, like they really want to see like narrative filmmaking, and they're sort of angry when they see some abstract visuals, and they're like, I don't want to see any more of this abstract visual stuff. And then other people really want to see that like music visualization stuff, and so we kind of try and show different things that make sense as a screening block. And then you can kind of say, someone's like, what should I watch this next one? And you sort of might know that person, and you're like, oh no, I don't think you'd be into it, like, or I need to go back to my hotel and do something. It's like, oh, you could maybe skip this one. Or no, you absolutely have to go and sit in the dome right now. And it would help us sort of direct our audience a little bit.
That's great. I should mention that Fulldome UK, Dome Fest West, and 4 other film festivals, Brno, Dome Under, SAT in Montreal, and Brno. We all collaborate as film festivals to create every 2 years a Best of Earth award. So if you enter your film into any of these festivals, you're actually eligible for the Best of Earth as well. So, there was a question, anonymous question here about, is this supplemental to your main career, or have Dome or planetariums provided financially enough to fully transition into this full time? Anybody want to comment on this? Have you made a viable business out of Dome shows?
For me, I can just say, we'll see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talk. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I think that we've made enough money, and we've got investors which see the potential of this. So I think it's a viable industry enough at this point to say there's potential to make a full career out of it. And I don't think that I'm ever going to do anything else. So I'm confident that it's going to work. And that it has a lot to do with, I'm sure Klára could speak to this too. Like, her films are getting in a lot of places. By the way, I loved your film, Klára. It was my favorite film of Dome Fest West, other than Kael's. Your 2 films were actually my favorites. We should talk later, Klára. But anyway, I think that it's sort of, for the music films, there's a challenge for those, right? More of a challenge than I think for films like Klára is making, because whether they fit into the programming of planetariums and their regular programming, which ours doesn't fit for school kids coming on a field trip to a science museum, right? It's not STEM related. So if you're making those types of films, you have a better chance of making a film that can be widely distributed. You guys are the exception, obviously, Ed, with Mesmerica and that franchise, and doing that. And I think everybody's sort of exploring, how do we take that same approach, or how do we take this new medium, which is spiritual, metaphysical, that have nothing to do with science or learning, or may have something to do with, but that are very experimental art and music films. And they're very entertaining to sit there and watch, and the audiences love them. But the audience right now doesn't know where to find them. And so the planetariums aren't great at reaching out to new audiences. They're great at curating the type of content that they're used to showing. And that's where the success comes in at that. So I think absolutely there's a pathway to a career in this. And I think that there's a lot of big money that's going behind it right now. Sony investing in Cosm, $100 million into Cosm. There's just a wide variety, the Sphere making new, smaller venues, other venues that are going to be popping up. I think I know you've been in this forever, Ed, and I think you feel like now it's sort of a tipping point, and I think the Sphere has definitely helped that, translate that, and to see that there is a business model where other types of films can make money in this.
So true, Scott. You can see a lot of activity now, and immersive experiences are on the radar of investors now. And domes are a powerful sit-down, largely immersive experience that people who've gone to immersive Van Gogh type art galleries and all often will say, "Wow, this is a real immersive experience." Because really what you're doing is you're controlling a pixel on every nerve ending in people's eyes, and you can really take people into other worlds. And it's digitally themed, so those worlds can change instead of having physical kit, if you have a physical kit, like Meow Wolf or whatever, you have to go from one space to another to get novelty. But in the Dome, novelty comes with digital pixels, right? So yeah, I think, it really is entertainment, arts and entertainment and education medium of the future. And, we've been working hard to get planetariums to open up more and say, hey, look, you're a cultural institution, you're very expensive, right? Build here an expensive venue. And I mean, it used to be planetariums were night sky astronomy, right? Well, that's just a narrow branch of astronomy and astrophysics, which is only one branch of physics, which is only one branch of the many sciences, which is only one slice of the overall pie of humanities and social science and all that. So it's like, why are we building this expensive theater for this one narrow slice? And so they've been slowly opening, and you can see it happening now. That because also, you have the wellness, the well-being angle as well, where content can actually help shift people, the consciousness, and their mood. So the planetariums can be a cultural offering to your regional community. And so they're starting to embrace more content rather than just strict STEM education. But it's a process that takes time. And as you point out, Scott, there are, there's B-Dome in Berlin, there's Wisdome, and of course the Vortex Dome in LA, which both of which are not operating right now. Elevation XR is opening a dome complex in San Francisco. You have another one, I guess, is it in Austin or Dallas? I remember, but it's called The Dome, I think. So, they're starting to pop up now. And in addition to Cosm and Sphere. So
there's one that's happening. Actually, 50 Cent is doing one in Shreveport.
That's right. That's right. And that is like so totally aligned with arts and entertainment,
Yeah.
Mission. So job opportunities will be opening, we think. These things tend to take time, but anyway.
And funding, and this funding that has dried up for planetariums, which is incredibly sad, sort of creates an urgency to find new ways to bring in revenue. So I think it's gonna help broaden that.
That's what I was going to say too, Scott. I was going to just say I definitely things are changing, and the Sphere's a major thing of that. It was like before that I would go around talking about domes and be like, what? And now be like, oh, like the Sphere in Vegas. Like, yeah, let's go with yes. I mean, it's not always exactly like that, obviously. But yeah, the other thing is it is a potential revenue stream, right? And I know that a lot of cultural institutions had a terrible time during COVID. I know some of the people have already mentioned they have too. And so they were all nearly bankrupt at the end of COVID because no one had gone there. So suddenly opening up for evening music shows became a second revenue stream for them. And I know of anecdotal evidence stories from the community that people have, that planetariums have not gone bankrupt because they're showing Pink Floyd or showing Mesmerica. And so suddenly they've got a whole revenue stream when the building was dark before. And I think, I don't hold it against necessarily. We've done a bit of research into this in the past. I think it's very hard for these venues, which are quite conservative, to take risks, to try this stuff out. So one of the things is about taking the risk away. I don't know, it's worth offering a venue potentially as a filmmaker. I mean, I'm just sort of riffing ideas here, but it's worth offering if you're doing something experimental, say try my work for free, just try it out and experiment on an audience, because they may need to be cautious about spending money on it for opening the evening. They're going to have a bunch of fixed costs. They have to pay staffing and all this kind of security and this kind of stuff. But there is strong evidence that existing venues can become it. And as you say, there's also a whole world of immersive venues opening up too, all over the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and planetariums have a particular image or brand, and with most people, there's an old joke that people go to planetariums 3 times in their life: when they're a kid, when they take their kid, and when they take their grandkid, right? But so we're really, it's an uphill battle to sort of rebrand these venues. But you can see it happening. And they used to do laser light shows. A lot of planetariums did that, evening entertainment. So it's not altogether foreign to be doing this. Hey, Kelly Francis, she's asking this a bit, but I think generally for anybody who wants to address it, is there anything more recently you're excited about in regards to opportunities for filmmakers, the process of making shows or the prospect of screening them? We used to have issues accessing domes, and it looks like you've been helping them for building them for creative shows, So just wondering if anybody has anything more to add to that topic.
I mean, I think, the fact that these venues are being built means that suddenly people, it's like which comes first. We've always been like, there's been a lot of content and no outlets for it. Now, suddenly there are venues like Cosm and things, and they're looking for content. If you start building, investing tens of millions of dollars in a venue, then you're gonna want to show stuff in it. So I do think that things are changing, and it feels as well that people are, they're reining in on spending on a lot of stuff, but people still seem to be willing to spend on experiences. So I think there's a possibility out there.
Right on. And we've been talking a lot about arts and entertainment, but the meat and potatoes of planetariums obviously is still STEM education, or STEAM, if you will. Klára, I'm wondering if you might want to say a few words about that and that whole market. Does it seem saturated with content, or is your show making some traction out there? And it can be a slow process, obviously, getting shows out there. I've seen shows that don't peak in revenue until like 5 years after they're released, but just wondering how you see the market.
Yeah, I think I wanted to add an interesting detail, because for example, there are huge festivals in Europe that are traditional film industry festivals, like Annecy or Cinekid in Amsterdam. You probably won't know them because they're it's really festivals focused or on animation or children content, which is something I'm into, both of the things. But they're starting to notice Fulldome, and they are having Fulldome and VR and immersive sections now, and it's experimental still, but it's starting to happen. Because and also another interesting detail from the from the traditional filmmaking business in Europe, it's kind of dying out, for a few years, because there's a generation of people growing up that is not really interested in TV and films, and they're searching for something else. They're they're spending time on TikTok and YouTube and stuff like that. So this traditional way is kind of in crisis for a few years now, but at the same time, the Fulldome is something new to explore. And for example, Prague has opened the first LED planetarium in Europe, and they had massive interest. They've been fully booked for months, and so I think those events is something that bring people, and young people especially, to learn that there is something like Fulldome, and it can be interesting. It's not just education, but as well there was this question if we if it's important for our income, this Fulldome business. I would say absolutely. It's become the biggest part of our income, from the reasons I mentioned, because the classical traditional world somehow is struggling very heavily. So I think there's a lot of and also the traditional world, this is something we struggle with, that there is too much content, but in the dome world, I don't think there's too much content yet.
Good. Yeah. So now, how important is it to try to hit on certain educational goals, and how do you do that for a film that you want to distribute globally? I mean, do you see differences in educational goals from country to country? How do you approach that?
Yeah, well, of course, we do some research, and of course, every country has a little bit different focus. for example, like Northern European countries are very focused on girls in science and stuff like it. But like, I think the baseline is everywhere the same. It's not much different in the end. And of course, it's very important to do this research and to be updated on like what's the trends and what you shouldn't do and what you should do. It helps, definitely, it helps.
Right. I know there's cultural differences for sure. So when you're storytelling, if you're trying to distribute your film to Saudi Arabia, there's maybe certain things that you want to avoid.
Well, we'll see. Maybe I don't know yet.
I'm aware of people being scared of distributing content that talks about climate change in the US because it's like the current political administration there is so anti the climate change stuff. So it's like there's a lot of pressures in a lot of different directions at the moment.
Yeah, although I have to say, I mean, it's my experience is the true that is an issue in certain circles here in the U.S. But the planetariums tend to stay pretty grounded in science, and I think who was it? Peter Pop did a great little film. What was the name of that? Kira, something like that. That basically positioned planetariums as a place you can still go and trust as a source of truth, in this crazy world, Now we have a technical question here. Do you create an equirectangular or fisheye? What's the main deliverable?
Fisheye?
Called
Just in general?
Yeah, I mean, most of the domes require just a square format fisheye.
Dome master.
Dome master.
Yeah.
When I started out creating Space and Time, I didn't know Full Dome existed as a format. I didn't know that square format was a square fisheye thing was a thing. So I started creating everything in equirectangular. You do lose a little bit of resolution when you convert one to the other. So if you're creating an equirectangular, which you can do, and it sometimes is easier in certain like Cinema 4D and things, just go higher resolution so that when it scales, you're not really losing anything. And if you do it that way, really you can do whatever you want. But the deliverable is for domes is going to be the full dome square format.
I know it's certainly easier to shoot a film in a fisheye format with a single camera now. You have the Blackmagic camera, what is it, 12K or whatever camera, and you can now with an 8mm lens do an 8K by 8K frame on that camera, and GSCA has been doing some tests with that are fairly favorable. But if you're animating, it's almost just as easy. I mean, it obviously takes longer to render, but to do full sphere, and then you can crop it after the fact, and you can do things in your post. You have a little more flexibility.
I think, I've worked on production of a couple of film pieces, like not as a creative, but as a producer. And the cool thing about doing it in equirectangular is you can deal with the different tilts of different planetariums and things like that. But depends on the amount of rendering you're doing, because you are rendering a lot more pixels that way. So again, it will depend on the sort of specific creative path that you're using. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's certainly a few years ago, it felt like because everyone was there was a big hype cycle around VR again, there were much more creative tools for making things for VR, and there just wasn't anything for Dome. But I feel that has shifted again, and like Dome is, there are Dome plugins built into like standard packages like After Effects and things like that now.
That's right. I do think Cosm requires rendering equirectangular because their format goes a little outside of a hemisphere. So it's also a very large frame. I believe it's 23K in equirectangular format. Hey, I'd like to bring Ryan up, and while he's coming on, I have another question here from Kelly. She's asking, do the producers and filmmakers think the cost is worthwhile to travel to and participate with festivals in person? What do you seek out in a festival to participate with? Because, you can just enter your film and have the festival screen it. You don't have to actually travel to every film festival, right?
I think 100% traveling to it's worth it. Every festival that I've been to has had an actionable result afterwards. The connections that you make are you can't make them any other way. It's great to see people in person and experience films with them, go have a drink with them afterwards. I think that's the certainly you can see a lot of films at once, so it gives you a broad just outside of entering in a festival, just going to a festival just gives you a lot of ideas and creative energy and just camaraderie, and I think it's well worth it for sure, 100%.
I agree, it's worth it. It's always worth it, but like money wise and time wise, you really have to pick your battles, I think, because it's you can't go everywhere, so you have to somehow think a little strategically through the year. And of course, it depends if you are screening a film or if you're not screening a film and just want to meet people. So yeah, it's always a bit of strategy making in this decision.
Right. I know at Dome Fest West, we try to announce, we're very sensitive about announcing if your film's being screened or not in time to make travel arrangements and everything.
Yeah, that's great. It's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a great question here from anonymous attendee about any use cases or thoughts around the use of Gen AI in this space. And I know Ryan has been hosting listening sessions on Gen AI. Hey, Ryan. I just wonder if maybe you want to say anything about that, Ryan, and how Dome Fest West is approaching Gen AI, as well as anybody else wants to comment on that.
Thank you, Ed. I would say let's try to not get too deep into this rabbit hole because it is exactly that. But we have been hosting, and I'm going to try to pull the graphic up and share it real quick. We've been hosting essentially listening sessions. These are sister events to our forums here, where we have amazing subject matter experts like all of our guests here speak to their knowledge of something. Well, now we want everyone within our community to help us understand the subject better and where you are all at. Right now, it is a very interesting time, and the different ways of using it are undefined. So we ask that while there are use cases and thoughts around the topic of generative AI, watch this space. We will be having a forum topic about it in the spring, guaranteed. But before then, please come, share your thoughts. And let's kind of get an understanding of how we see these tools being used in our industry moving forward, because there is no single answer right now. If anyone wants to share anything, you can. Yeah, go ahead.
I can give an answer around what our approach was for this year's FulldomeUK, that we decided that it was a tool that people were using and that we were not going to rule out work just on the basis that they had used it, and if the work was good, that at least for this iteration that we would include something. There was I think there's maybe one or two films like that we've included that clearly use it. Whether there's stuff in the background of other films, I don't know, but that was our approach. We are aware of the conflict and complexity and all the sort of conversations around it, but we just decided for this iteration of what we're doing, that was our informal policy, and we maintain a relatively informal approach to doing things.
I'll chime in. I know that this is going to be a bigger discussion later, but my 2 cents as an artist, as a creator, with regards to AI, my only thought is don't be lazy. As an artist, that's it. That's what it comes down to. Just don't be lazy. Use it as a tool, but don't just don't be lazy. That's all. That's it. That's what it comes down to.
I love it. I think we are, Ryan, asking people to disclose how they're using AI in their film, if it's pure Gen AI, if it's, AI post effects or whatever like that, right?
Yes, we are asking you to let us know by self-disclosure. And this is not shared with the jury. So this is not something that is actually going to be affecting at this point in time how these sessions are rated. But Kael's point is the most valid. Don't be lazy. Usually AI is only obvious when it's done badly. And so if you can't tell, well, then people don't have a problem with AI. So be like Christopher Nolan and pretend like you don't use CGI if you want. But yes, it is. Ed is correct. We ask people to disclose, and again, this year that information is not going to the jury, so it's not going to directly affect the quality. I apologize. The criteria or the critical view of the film, whether knowing if it's AI or not.
I've got a quick comment on it. I think people are always afraid of new technology. So when the computer was invented, artists weren't doing hand-drawn animation anymore. It was a tool, and so I think using AI is one thing, but completely, like as Kael said, being lazy and having your entire film done with AI, including the script, including every part of it, and dehumanizing the art form, I think is where it gets scary, and I think it gets inappropriate, in my opinion. And then there's obviously different levels. We used AI in our film on one specific piece, but we chose to use it in a way where it was the part where there was a ballet dancer. It's one section of it. And we actually had a ballet dancer. We filmed a ballet dancer on a green screen, and then we took her out of that. And so there was this process. Then we ran it through AI to do this paper mache thing. Then we brought it back into After Effects to composite it and create it in a different way. That's to me, that's about as far as we wanted to use it. But now in everyday, like we use it to upscale things, using it as a production tool is, I think, 100% acceptable. And I think it sort of allows everybody to get to a filmmaking level and budget level that they might not be able to get to outside of that. So it allows other filmmakers that may not have the funds or the capability to do certain things to express themselves artistically. So as long as you're keeping the human factor involved in it, I think it's interesting and scary at the same time.
Yeah, that's great. I think one of the main, and not to draw this topic out, but one of the main complaints against AI, aside from the lazy factor, is that some of these models have been trained using other people's IP without necessarily their permission, and there's lawsuits around that and such. But what you're talking about, Scott, is really like a post effect and using your own IP. And you can train the AI with your own IP and then have it riff on that for you using different styles, like a style transfer. And I think that's sort of a different level of AI use than pure Gen AI. But yeah, the jury's still out on it. That's why we're doing the listening sessions. It's like we're trying to get community feedback here. And yeah, so anyway, we don't want to thwart innovation or reject a work that's awesome. So we're trying to figure out where to land on it. Ryan, any other topics that you'd like to touch on? I think there was one other in there about 8K versus 4K, and 4K 30 versus 8K 60.
Yeah, I think let's take those conversations and those questions into our amazing open floor lounge. This is something you'll see in the chat. Kelly has been providing links, as well as Ed. Thank you. Save that link right now. Save it, grab it, copy it. put it into a new browser window, because let's jump over there where everybody can turn their cameras on and get a chance to talk directly to our panelists. And can we just give a big round of applause to our moderator, Ed, and to every single one of our panelists, Ben, Scott, Klára, and Kael. Thank you so much. This has been so illuminating. You've brought so much awesome just knowledge and wisdom. We will be sharing this on our YouTube page next week, so look for it to premiere. But if right now you stuck around this long, you get a chance to meet every one of these panelists. And Ed, why don't you go ahead and wrap us on out, and we'll meet everyone over there. Thank you.
Right on. Well, just a quick reminder that submissions are open for Dome Fest West. The conference, the film festival, is from April 21st through 25th. We added an extra day for workshops if you want to come early. So check it out and submit your films. So make sure you do copy that Zoom link if you want to jump in. Kelly just posted it. I will pop it into the chat again here because we're going to be logging off now and jumping into that other Zoom. So thanks everyone.
See you. Thank you.
Big thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Bye.
Take care.